I've been August 25th, MetaMentors, Crypto Rewind and Forecast, 4 stories. We're going to go through them quick. Comment and subscribe below. You can jump around if you don't have the whole time to stay with us. We've got Solana and its dominance. I mentioned this on a previous episode that I was going to be talking about this. Excited to talk some more about Solana and what they're doing. You got crypto sports gambling, always a big topic. Gambling, you got the football season coming up, and then all the others that come right after that. So you know that's getting hot. Bitcoin versus the M2 money supply, the direct connection. This is, if you're not aware of this, Ben, this is the stuff that you need to be following to know where Bitcoin's going next. At least that's what I'm learning, and that's what I'm going with. That's what I'm following right now. So, and then last, you've got some crypto apps that are starting to get recognized, starting to pay, and people are starting to notice. For the first time in your life, you're being noticed by other people, Ben, and it's pretty exciting times. Thanks to crypto.
Yeah, that's it. They're noticing the apps. They're still not noticing me. They're looking right past me to the apps that I'm using. But
yeah, he likes it that way. All right, so this is this week's episode. Let's go. All right, Solana, Ben, it seems like almost every episode Solana gets mentioned. You made a point of that last week, and it's specifically because Solana is doing a ton of stuff. They are building in the bear market like you're supposed to. One of the biggest things that they are doing right now is they just rolled out, Solana Pay has been out, but they just integrated with Shopify. And so as of right now, they're just starting with the USDC payment, and it talks about, or the USDC coin, but it talks about in here that that's just an easy transition. People are used to using dollars, and the USDC is based on the dollar. So it's an easy transition, but as you can see here, they're looking to add cryptocurrencies like Sol, which would be natural, and Bonk in the future. So they're going to be adding a bunch of other tokens to this. But the point being is Solana Pay is on the Solana blockchain, and it's making it available that you can purchase on Shopify with right now USDC token, but in the future, it's probably going to be any of the Solana tokens that operate on the Solana network. Shopify accounts currently account for 10% of the US e-commerce, $444 billion of global economic activity per year. And why are they using Solana Pay? Credit card processing fees usually cost a business between 1.5 and 3.5% per transaction. Solana Pay actually almost eliminates that completely. The average transaction cost is 0.00025% of a penny. So basically free. If you own a business, you understand just how big this lack of a transaction fee is, and that's why it's starting to explode. But let me jump over to a couple quick videos that explain it a little bit better. All right, Ben, here is Paul Barron talking about Solana and Shopify.
So definitely cool. All right, so I want to jump over to a clip real quick to show you guys a little bit more here on the Sol Pay with a Shopify setup. So being able to get it done for your Shopify account. Take a look.
All right, so you're a merchant who wants to enable Solana Pay on your Shopify store. You go to install and you choose your store that you want to install it on. The verification is a quick entering in your business details. Next, you add a wallet for all of your customers' Solana purchases to go to, and you're done. You get taken to the Shopify admin, and it's activated. That's it.
Boom. That's it.
All right.
That's all it takes to add it to Shopify. So not only is it cheap, it's also easy cheap and fast. It's also very easy to add to. So let's jump up here a little bit more where he gets into some of the advantages of Solana.
So here, we have TPS up to 65,000 transactions per second versus 15 for Ethereum. Average fee, a fraction of a penny. Ethereum is $15. Latency, less than half a second. 5 minutes for Ethereum, and et cetera. Market cap, very, very different.
All right. So and we've touched on this. So in previous episodes, matter of fact, we just did one in July where we talked about Solana. But again, if you look here, transactions per second, 65,000 for Solana. Ethereum's at 15. It's no wonder that these retailers are very interested in joining the Solana blockchain, because it's way faster and clearly a fraction of a penny, as opposed to, I think $15 was the average. It's the average time and the average cost to run on Ethereum. And a big reason this is happening is because of the partnership with Fire Dancer and Solana. So here's a quick.
This is what
clip on
Masari
this.
said. Okay, their words, not mine, verbatim. And this goes back to unlocking the blue ocean. Masari said, Solana could dominate crypto, okay, with this blue ocean technology. And that is a big statement. And finally, this is probably the most important thing, and that's kind of what I look at, but I allocate based on risk. Okay, if I allocate it based on what I just saw in this deck, I'd YOLO into Solana. But the question is, and the question you all have to answer yourselves is ETH 40x more valuable than Solana? The market cap is 40x larger. And if you include all the layer twos, I got Optimism.
Okay, so this is Invest Answers, and he, if you like charts and graphs and really breaking down some of the stats, he's very good at that. But so I apologize, I was jumping around a little bit there, but the main reason why is because Solana is doing so much stuff. Like I went through a ton of videos just to get that narrowed down to that little bit of content, which was still too long. But Solana is just doing a ton of stuff. I'm definitely looking at putting a small percentage of my Bitcoin allowance into Solana, because I see it, whatever, 3xing, 10xing, 100xing. I don't know. They're doing great stuff, is what I'm trying to say.
I concur. Yeah, I think I'm gonna try to split my Hive Mapper money, because the honeybee tokens, or the honey tokens, are on the Solana network, and I'm curious how they'll do in the future. But I'm much more confident in how Solana's going to do. So I think I'm going to convert some of those honey into Solana as I go on, maybe 50-50.
Yeah, it's a good one to watch for sure. All right, so I'll toss it over to you for crypto, sports, and gambling.
All right, so NFL season right around the corner. One of the things that I like to do, and it's getting easier and easier as states allow and legalize sports gambling, which, wasn't that long ago. We had to go through the local bookie to make any bets on football. And
not that you did, but you heard of people.
Well, I'm not even going to say his name, but there was a bookie that I knew of that may have ended up with all my money. But now you can gamble a little easier on sports, depending on what state you're in. But that still also leaves a little bit of a paper trail. Plus, there's a couple other things that you may not want to gamble on sports online for. But if you are a gambler and you like gambling on sports, there's a bunch of crypto casinos that are popping up. Some safer than others. And to be 100% honest, I'm not 100% sure which ones are the safest. But I know it could be an expensive year of me figuring it out, because I'm determined to use several of them. Some of them are safer. They have the KYC. They're kind of they're regulated as far as their jurisdiction, requires them to be. And some of them seem like pretty loose and fast. They don't have the KYC. You can come in from a decentralized wallet. Nobody has to know who you are. You can gamble and win. But if you
can launder your money.
Yeah, if you win millions of dollars, don't be surprised if something goes wrong in the withdrawal process. But I've been looking. Let's see.
Yeah, let's see who's your favorites.
Well, probably the safest one that I would use is Bovada, because I've been using them since before they're offshore. Can you see that? Yeah, you can. Okay.
Yep.
So this is just one of the websites that had the list on there. That was where I started digging through it. The only one that I even recognized was this Bovada, and I used to gamble with them back before I left for England. So that one's been around for a while. I think they said it was like 10 years, and it's got all the sports, all the bets, everything you would do. But now they're allowing you to deposit and gamble with crypto, which is huge because I'm already familiar with their platform. And I'm just curious. I would like to just do it with crypto rather than hooking up my Bank of America account to an offshore casino. I could see how that would end up poor.
Yeah, you're already gambling enough banking with Bank of America. Why should you take it?
You're exactly right. So that's why, because I gamble with Bank of America and other regular banks, I'm not really afraid to put my money into an offshore casino. A lot of them have different. I'm just going to put the links to these down in our description box below. A lot of them have, first time deposits. If you deposit half an Ethereum, they'll match you at half an Ethereum, or up to a certain amount. And a lot of them have bonuses for your first bets. And with NFL season right around the corner, I bet we're going to start hearing a lot more about some of these bigger and more successful crypto casinos, I guess is what I'm supposed to call them, crypto casinos. And we're going to figure out if there's anything that makes the KYC casinos better or worse than the kind of Wild West casinos where you can sneak in and sneak out. But they've also got a couple of new apps. This one is peer-to-peer sports betting. So it's like having the middleman in between you, the bookie in between you, for a lot less percentage than what a casino or somebody would. So if you and I wanted to gamble and I didn't trust you to pay out, we would both, put up our crypto, and then it would get doled out to the winner based on the smart contract. Yeah. Based on the smart contract, not based on, me going, well, technically you said if he scored 2 points and they, what I mean? Like it would all be predetermined and it would be doled out and there would be no chance to sneak out of it. So pretty interesting because the apps that are doing that are becoming very popular very fast. And we're always looking at ways that's, what is it that's going to pull more people into mainstream Web3 and let's see, how do I put this? Like digital media and the adult entertainment industry.
I knew what you were going after.
Often finance follows dirty money or less than reputable ways, like you said, laundering money. Usually the best places are the places that the criminals use first, and then they sort of polish the edges and get a little more mainstream. So I'm sure we'll be keeping up to date on that. You'll be getting filled in on my crypto gambling every week as football season. Yes. So I just thought that was cool because that's one thing that I do in the real world, that I do in the non-digital world, that could be made so much. Like I'm sure we have a long way to go, but it could be made so much.
Well, you remember the early days of fantasy football and because I don't gamble, I just never been interested in it, but I played fantasy football with you in the original firefighter league we started. And we know how that first season ended. And it was a completely meltdown excuse. If that had been on a smart contract, it wouldn't matter. It just would have been like, too late. It's the money's gone to the winner, whatever it is. There's no arguing.
It's predetermined and it's unchangeable once the season is in motion. And there's a lot of benefits to that, especially if you can do it decentralized, for nefarious reasons, or you just don't want to have the taxable event. If you can go in and gamble a little bit with your decentralized wallet, win some, you lose some, but you don't have a whole 1099 at the end of the year, that would be really nice. So looking forward to. I bet we see a front runner emerge in the first couple of weeks. An app that a lot of people start using.
Yeah. It's probably going to be whichever the easiest one to use is, most trusted and easiest to use. Yeah, yeah, no doubt we're going to see that really, really take off. So that'll be cool to hear some updates on that.
Maybe FTX will come up with a sports gambling app.
We can only hope so. From his jail, the judge will be smacking him down on that also.
Get SBF out of jail for a week and let him just rig that up real quick.
All right, moving on. Let's talk about Bitcoin, my favorite. It would not be a crypto show if we didn't talk about Bitcoin. I'm spending a ton of time trying to learn this market. I've never been a investor in stocks or commodities or anything like that before. I've always put my money in real estate because that's what I learned and understood. I'm having to learn this whole side of it. And it's crazy to me that I say this lightly, but everything I need to know, I can find on YouTube to learn this stuff. Now, that's not exactly correct, but I've learned a wealth of information just watching YouTube channels and finding ideal people to watch. And the problem is you got to sort through a lot of the trash to get there. But I'm doing that. So what I'm getting at here is I'm learning it kind of comes down to two main sources that I'm following when it comes to Bitcoin. You've got the actual traders that are constantly trading the currency. And then you've got like the long-term investors. And both groups are in full agreement that Bitcoin is going to do big things in the future. The disagreement is the traders mostly think, based on history and the graphs, and we're going to see just a little bit of this, that it's going to be a while before Bitcoin really gets a whole lot better. And the funny part is I say it's going to be a while. That actually means by the end of 2024. So less than a year and a half,
Right.
all these groups are agreeing basically that Bitcoin will be at least $100,000 in a year and a half. So it's funny that I say the long term. But so my point being is you've got the traders and you've got the actual investors. And I'm having to remember that when I watch these videos that you have to remember which person you're listening to, because that alters how you look at this. And I'm trying to balance my investment based on both, because both of them have very, very valid points. Two of them that I'm following specifically, two traders, are Gareth Salaway, the guy at the top, and then Ben Cowen, who I just discovered, who I really, really like. They're both very chart orientated and history orientated, and they keep hitting these points that make a lot of sense. One of the biggest points that traders and investors are both talking about when it comes to Bitcoin and crypto in general is the crypto market is being driven by liquidity. And it's become very clear that the charts are showing that. The question is, how quick will this extra liquidity be drained out of the system? We're in the process of that happening right now with interest rates being raised. But how quickly is this actually going to happen, which will ultimately affect Bitcoin? So I'm talking a lot here. Let's go ahead and get into some of this, and then we'll discuss just a little bit more also.
This is an interesting chart if you guys haven't seen it. This is Bitcoin divided by the money supply, M2. And we're basically getting rejected from the 2017 high, and also the low from 2021. But Gareth and David, I'd like your view on something else. I put out a video recently, and I don't know if you guys follow this, but this is the S&P divided by the money supply. And does this not tell a fairly interesting story? Like, to say that the three tops that we've seen over the last 3 to 4 years have all been at the same exact level when accounting for M2. I look at the S&P and I say from the high, right? So from this pre-pandemic high, the S&P rallied 42%, right? It was a 42% rally. But guess what else rallied 42%? The money supply, right? Exactly 42%. So I can't get away from this idea that we're all being fooled in the first place of thinking that risk assets are going up. The truth is that nothing's really going anywhere. We're just printing a lot of money and everything is going up. So yes, maybe the S&P went up 42%, but so did your grocery bill, so did everything else in life. And so that's where you get this debasement of the currency. David, are you what do you think about how the S&P is not actually putting in new highs against the money supply, really, since the dot-com crash, I believe, is when it, if I were to zoom out here, the last time the S&P took out these highs was all the way back over here in like the dot-com era. and that's something that might be worthwhile to talk to a lot of more people who are more bullish on the stock market, and to say, well, is this not just more so a function of dollars being printed rather than any underlying changes in productivity or otherwise growth?
Yeah. Okay, so let's answer this question first. So, yeah, that is a very interesting way to look at it.
I like how he pauses there. That, if you're paying attention, you can pick up on that. Like, he's kind of stumped there a little bit, because what Ben Cowen just showed him, you could probably guess he hadn't thought a whole lot about before. But ultimately, here's what this comes down to, and here's what I'm learning in the last several months, that I keep hearing these same echoes over and over and over again. And I was taking it for granted that I thought everybody knew it at first, and I'm realizing it's not the case. The crypto market in Bitcoin is driven by liquidity, and its liquidity is directly driving the S&P. If you look at all the things that are happening right now, there's a lot of concerns in the market, but ultimately the stock market, the S&P, is still record highs right now, ever since Ben Cowen just showed, since 2008. So most people believe, although Bitcoin is undervalued right now, it's $26,000 roughly. The estimated value on Bitcoin is 45 to 55 per the experts right now. So it's undervalued right now. So now is a great time to buy. But because the S&P is at not an all-time high, is at a high that we haven't seen since 2008, prior to the collapse, most people are saying it's too high based on the market. It's got to come down. The only reason it's high is because there's so much money in the system, which is being withdrawn. So what does that mean? If the money's being withdrawn and the S&P is too high, and the Bitcoin follows the S&P pretty closely right now, that means if the S&P comes down, Bitcoin is going to come down also. So there's a lot of people that are betting that we're going to see Bitcoin drop down. And I cut that part out of the video, but he said something about like up to a 42% decrease from where the S&P is right now. So that's kind of on the major side. So I started the video with saying, I'm basically going to give away what to track. What you have to track, we're finding, is the M2 money supply. As that money starts to come down, the S&P, which in a couple videos ago, we went over a video that talked about the S&P usually peaks about a month before the major decline happens. And so if you're watching that and waiting for that time for it to fall, then Bitcoin's probably going to follow it, and everything is going to be basically repeating history all over again. And that's what that video and a lot of Ben Cowen's videos talk about, is he just goes over charts over and over again that show the same, they're following these same patterns. And it's a matter of time before we see enough liquidity pulled out of the system that everything takes a good dive. Now, the funny part is, as they pull out that liquidity and the system breaks, our system, the American system breaks, the Fed is going to be required to start printing money again. And when they start pumping more liquidity in, what happens? It goes back up. And so we're watching that. I'm watching that as that's happening. At the same time, you can't ignore the Bitcoin ETF that is in process right now, that most people believe will get accepted or passed here, no later than the first quarter of next year. We'll see. There's all these extra things that are going on that we talk about on this channel in some of our prior videos, but you have to take it all in and try to make your own decision. And that's where I'm at right now, is basically I'm hedging my bet monthly. I'm buying Bitcoin because it's at a great price now. I'm keeping my major reserves on the side because I think it's still going to come down based on some of these charts and stuff. So I'm going to close with saying, follow the M2. If you follow the money, the M2 money supply, follow the money, then you will be following Bitcoin and the S&P, which all travels together at this point. Now, maybe that'll change in the future, but as of right now, history says they're just going to follow each other. And if you do that, then you know pretty much where Bitcoin's next step is going to be, and you can be in front of it. Not financial advice, but that's what I'm figuring out. So we'll see if it pays out.
Right. The nice part is you can just check back and Ryan will keep you updated with how it's going. I mean, that is, I'm not,
yes,
that's
You don't
not
want to
really
miss
a
out.
joke. I'm,
but,
yeah, you could miss out, but it's like, it's nice. One thing that I like about these episodes that we do every week is we've just been painting our own picture. Like, we can go back and find the time where we're like, Solana, what's Solana? And we start looking into it, and then
yeah.
we're doing this, and then it's $200, and then it's $9. And then, it's interesting to have this weekly episode where we can see how things are going. And it'll be interesting to check with you in a couple of months and see how your investing's going, what's the plan, what's changed, what's stayed the same.
Yeah, it's so crazy the timing. I just heard, I think it was Gary Salaway just say the other day, investments are the only thing that when they go down in value, people don't buy. They run away from. If everything else goes on a sale, then you're buying. Like it's on
That's
sale. Like
interesting.
it's a discount, get it. But investments go on sale and everybody's like runs away from them. So
Yeah, that's
now,
interesting, because anything else that you'd want to buy, if you wanted to buy a bicycle or a video game or a movie or a house, and it's like, oh, the price just dropped again.
yeah.
You're forced. I mean, like, your body goes, buy it now. And you're right. That's the exact opposite of what happens if a stock or an investment goes on. The price drops, you're like, oh shit, something must be wrong with it.
Yeah, what's happening?
Don't touch it. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm getting educated for sure. I'm enjoying it. So yeah, like you said it best. It's been a great ride so far. It's going to be really interesting to see where it goes from here, and we'll keep making videos. So that is what I've got on the Bitcoin update.
All right.
All right, that about wraps up our episode. Unless you have something to add, Ben.
Yeah, actually, I was kind of telling you a little bit before the episode, but one thing that I've noticed, one thing that I think is cool, we've talked about it before, how when Target or Starbucks or Pepsi, does a crypto thing or jumps into Web3 or has an NFT, that's like, oh, this is good. This is good. People might start paying attention, and we're looking around and nobody's paying attention and nobody cares. And it's like, what is going on? What do these companies need to do? I mean, how else would you celebrate Grimace's birthday if not with a special edition soulbound NFT? And nobody else seems to care about this. But when
We're
it's
just
the
a couple
opposite,
nerds in a big world.
right? And that's why when the opposite happens and people are like, oh, hey, what do you know about crypto? Or what do you know about this? I'm always like, I've been driving Uber, and all the college kids are back in, from Dayton. And it just seems weird because last year nobody knew what was going on my dashboard, but this year everybody's like, "Oh, hey, are you doing the XYO coin? Is that what that is?" And I'm like, yeah, actually that is XYO." And I'm just, "Are you familiar with it?" And they're like, "Well, not really." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." They're like, "But it's the Ethereum one, right? And it's, you just mine it while you're driving, and it's making a decentralized." And I'm like, you're more onto it than
That's-
most people are. And so we'll talk about it. And then I usually lend in now to where it's like, man, I thought this was cool, but Hive Mapper paid for itself in a month. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I start telling about that, and they've either heard of it or haven't heard of it. But then just, I think it was last weekend, the end of last weekend, we were going, and a guy, it was a full car. There's 4 or 5 people in there. And the guy in the back seat said, "Hey, are you mining coin?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "We're doing something like that." And he said, "Show him," whatever the girl's name was. And they were playing a game called Atlas Earth, which I think we went over, maybe just touched on it a little bit when we were doing metaverse projects, because we
Sounds
like
familiar.
Next Earth, but this was Atlas Earth. But same idea. You buy these plots of lands, and it's a very basic metaverse style game, but you earn this token. It's one of those, like, what was the one with the llama? Do you remember?
Yes.
Upland,
Upland.
where it's the in-game token, so it's not out on a blockchain, but that's what you're earning. But then she was able to cash it in for real tokens, that she could, like a USDC, I think was what they cashed it out at. But it was just very interesting because these were not the science kids, you know what I mean? These were the kids who were out partying and drinking late on a Saturday night.
The cool kids are
The
on
cool
to it.
kids, and they were like, "Oh yeah, well we do this, this, and this," and you know, both of them had Coinbase accounts, and they knew some of the basic token. And I just thought, this is big news, because you and I have always gotten excited when a major company dips their toes into it, but it doesn't seem to really draw up any attention. But when I'm actually seeing people in the field, you know, like randomly getting into my car who just happen to know, people who use Uber, people who, you know, live on their phone, people who are going to college, stuff like that. And they're like familiar with stuff. And it's like, oh yeah, I'm starting to do this, or I'm going to start investing, or I should invest more in Bitcoin. And I'm thinking about Ethereum. And it's like, okay, there's people out in the world that are doing this. It's not just the nerds. It's not just the guys sitting behind their computers. It's people who are going to the bar, you know? And I just thought that was so exciting. And thank goodness it was a short ride, or I would have talked them to the point they were like, we're not doing crypto anymore. That guy's weird. I don't want anything to do with him. But I thought it was very neat that I was starting to see people, you know, and I'm sure the school season has just started. So I'm sure I'm going to see a lot more. But I thought, you know, I'm always looking for positive signs in the industry. And I don't think I've ever seen normal people going, oh, yeah, I'm familiar with that. Oh, yeah, I got a Coinbase. Oh, yeah, I do. You know, I need to be putting more into Bitcoin, and just kind of a lot of it. One group of, they looked like the nerd kid, the science kids. You know what I mean? They were talking about, they were talking about some weird coins that I hadn't even heard of, you know, and I thought, well, that's good in another way, because the volatility in the market is based on people taking those wild shots on stupid coins, and you know what I mean? And when Twitter, you know, crypto Twitter blows up and the YouTubers start, you know, shilling their own coins and stuff. And I thought maybe we are kind of coming back around. Maybe, you know, leading into the Bitcoin halving, maybe there will be some excitement getting built up if people are talking about it unassisted. So,
well, yeah, again, it's just such a revolutionary technology that more and more people or more and more companies and people are just finding uses for it, and it's spreading.
Yeah,
they're just building in the bear market.
Yeah, any you know, any little game, any sports gambling, the stuff like that. I mean, all of that just starts to build and build and build, where it's like you don't have to tell anybody, because they can't ignore it. It's just there. It's in their face all the time. They're like, okay, what do I need to know? You know what I mean? It's going to get to that point, because it's like every place that I go keeps telling me I need to have a wallet where they can drop in some tokens or some NFTs, or they're trying to get, you know, my free coffee. Now I have to be able to show it on my MetaMask or whatever. And so pretty soon they're just going to be like, okay, I give up. What do I need to do?
Yeah.
So
cumbersome at first, and then it'll be second nature.
Yeah. Well, the more cool kids you get in there, the more dumb people you will have using your stuff, and you will have to make it user friendly. You know what I mean? And I'm speaking from you and me. Half of these projects that we look into, it's like we have to go back and forth. And what does it mean? You have to unlock this before you can stake this and do that. We're on the bottom half of the people who know what's going on.
Right. Yes.
But to get to that next level, you're going to have to make it push button easy. You know what I mean? There's a reason Flappy Birds was the most popular game, you know, for 2 years, because there was one button he pushed. You know, that was it. That's what you got to make it. It's got to be super easy. So exciting times. Maybe we are about to see the turning where it starts to get exciting again.
It sure seems that way, but we are early. All right, that wraps our episode for August 25th. We'll see you next week.
Peace.